These defendants had no desire whatsoever to kidnap anyone, yet the government wouldn't drop the idea, and the CHS continued to broach plans, despite official government admonitions barring the suggestion of such plans. Phone calls like the one above represent a mere appetizer. Ooh, I love appetizers. the
Is it calamari?
CHS, yeah, right. This is just the calamari, guys.
I prefer a bruschetta, but okay.
Ooh, I love bruschetta.
No, actually, what like the tomato with the cheese and the basil on top. That's really, really nice.
Yeah.
Well,
now
maybe
I'm
like
hungry.
a little meat in there or something.
And I can't go without a good cheese board. I've got a
cheese board,
charcuterie, a charcuterie.
I will dominate some charcuterie. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the best way to my heart, honestly. Mr. Bites learned that very early on is like when we sit down, just immediately order a charcuterie board and we're good. So the CHS's handlers pulled the puppet strings the entire time. On August 28th, CHS Dan asked SA Chambers, "Would you want 2 trips or wait till we get more guys?" as part of his attempts to, quote, get it right for the government. In state court, Impola affirmed his direct role in telling CHSs what to say to people. He told the CHS what to say to Adam Fox. He was communicating with the CHS during the CHS's conversation with Fox. His directions included suggesting that Fox come train at Joe Morrison's property in Munich and urging Fox to do so. So he conceded we were talking about it. We were talking about what he was saying. Interestingly, given S.A. Chambers' role in directing activities here, and in a company that tweeted about the investigation as explored in earlier findings on October 29th, 2021, Chambers dissolved the company EXE Intel, filing papers with the New Mexico Secretary of State, discussing Chambers' interest in an intelligence company tweeting about the investigation. Interesting. The timing seems more than coincidental, given the issues raised in this case and also presented in the media. The commercial behavior only compounds the overreaching and emotional manipulation and the government's strategic planning that ultimately came up short. It bears noting that in an analogous context, one involving an agent's prior coercive schemes, the Sixth Circuit has said evidence related to an agent's tactics and motivations is admissible and that trial courts abuse their discretion in excluding it. The defendants never agreed to the government's kidnapping plan, a repudiation even the government implicitly recognizes. In response to the defendants' rejection of the plot, government agents prompted CHS Dan to propose alternative, less violent property crimes, which have been previously identified to the court. The government and the CHS proposed these ideas in an effort to hang on to something to justify their work. For example, the government suggested the idea of firing rounds into the governor's cottage and sending the shell casings to her. Notably, the government's actors made the first effort to find the address for the cottage, much like the agent in McLernan, where the court found entrapment as a matter of law when the agent initiated the unlawful activity by doing things like telling the defendant to keep his eyes open for possible drug connections.
Yeah, that's way worse than just keeping your eyes open. I mean, it seems like this is pretty egregious, especially if they were the ones who were the first ones to find the address or try to find the address.
Yeah. The defendants put so little thought into the idea of kidnapping the governor that on September 13th, 2020, when the FBI, the CHS, and the defendants reached Elk Rapids in the late evening hours, they failed to find the governor's cottage because they had the wrong address. That correct address was provided by Special Agent Chambers at 10:14 p.m. as people were making their way from Cadillac to Elk Rapids. Special Agent Chambers provided a street number beginning with 7 and ending in 5, and the actual number began with 6 and ended in 5.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, the fact that they went there, though, I mean, that doesn't look great for them.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, the fact that and you can be very much in on the plan and just get the wrong address,
Yeah, because you don't have to actually commit the crime.
Yeah.
Substantial step, right?
Yeah.
Substantial overt step.
Yeah, exactly.
You got in the car with a gun, probably. Yeah. I imagine.
Yeah. The government's ride-along itinerary was lost to this error. Apparently, the FBI and the CHSs had planned to drive their targets to the governor's cottage, so these targets could be captured on a poll cam that had been installed in advance for the purpose of acquiring evidence. None of the targets knew that the government intended to have them actually go to the cottage as a part of the ride-along or enter upon the governor's private property. I mean, I want to know what they did know or what
What they
they.
think they were doing. That's
Well,
what
Yeah,
I'm
this
saying.
exactly.
this next one is pretty damning that the FBI texted them that. I mean,
Yeah. So the government conceived and controlled every aspect of the alleged plot. On September 5th, 2020, FBI Special Agent Jason Chambers texted CHS Dan, mission is to kill the governor specifically.
so the FBI is the one escalating this. Like it went from kidnap to now kill, right? And they're the ones pushing the escalation.
Yeah.
Doesn't surprise me.
And
Not at
again,
all.
just looking at this objectively, though, I still want to see what the text before and the text afterwards said. Because if you know, if there's context above, before these texts that would suggest that that this guy's saying like, this might be a good idea, like
FBI
what
special
exactly
agent.
are we talking about?
FBI
Well,
Special
I
Agent
guess-
Jason Chambers. Why do you want to kill the governor?
Yeah.
It
Yeah,
seems
or
like they're
or
probably
right
acquiescing.
afterwards, if they're like, yes, this is what I've been talking about, like I would like to see the reaction to this tweet too.
Mhm.
3 months after the government proposed kidnapping, and 2 months after the defendant's strident repudiation of the idea, and a month after the defendant's reiteration of their repudiation, the government's agents continued to push to shape a kidnapping plan, even trying to elevate it to murder.
Yeah.
Yeah, the thing is that I don't see any evidence of repudiation of this text, and I would want to see that personally, just as further, bolstering of this argument. But it does look like there was repudiation of the plan, at least in initial stages. I'm wondering how they ended up in this place where they were actually in the car, going to her property, on her property, and like Kurt said, what it was that they thought they were doing there.
It
With
seemed
regard,
like they acquiesced to something at some point, right? At some point, they acquiesced to doing
yeah,
something involving the government.
yeah. With regard to inducement and persuasion, the government's emotional manipulation abounded. Its approach was persistent and emotional from the outset. Agents and informants used ties related to friendship, being role models, and acting as father figures to develop trust and reliance in the defendants, which that's not necessarily a problem. I mean, according to the Supreme Court,
Uh,
because these they are able to go in and manipulate ties and whatnot if somebody is already engaged in that behavior. But if they're doing that to induce behavior that's not already going on, that is a different situation.
exactly. And I think that's what we're increasingly seeing with the FBI.
Yeah. The CHS has used military veterans as informants, having these people pose as patriotic Americans concerned with preserving the principles enshrined in the U.S. Constitution.
I do like that phraseology though.
Yeah.
They're posing as patriotic
Posing.
Americans with concern with principles of enshrining the Constitution. Like that might be bad.
Because the FBI
Yeah.
truly doesn't care about the U.S. Constitution.
Yeah. I know. Examples of these emotional tactics are everywhere in this case. On June 22nd, 2020, an undercover government employee agent texted Adam Fox, "Hey, brother, this is Mark using my girlfriend's account. Elise was talking to your fiance, Amanda, about getting more involved, and Amanda suggested I contact you." Okay. Attachment to motion to, okay, sorry. From the get-go, the government manufactured ties to loved ones like Fox's fiance to gain acceptance and trust in the group. On July 11th, 2020, CHS Dan reported, "Going good here, just burning rounds, lending out MPX, making friends." Okay. I mean, but again, that on its own is not enough under this area of law. On September 30th, 2020, CHS Dan told Adam Fox that Dan could not afford food or medical care, citing an inability to purchase a pizza that cost less than $6.